Hello, we gonna make some brownies today. This is a well-loved recipe. Boo, boo, boo. Baking powder. What's that? So I wanted to talk about being homeschooled and what I thought of it and all that fun stuff. I get lots of questions and stuff from people about homeschooling because a lot of people don't know that I was homeschooled. Pretty sure they think it's like a hoax. And so when I tell them I was homeschooled, they're like, what? How does that work? How did that work? Like, I have a lot of siblings and they usually want to know if we were all homeschooled, like, do we have diplomas and what's it like getting into colleges and all this stuff. So I'm just going to talk about my experience with that. I am one of 10 siblings. All of my siblings were homeschooled, and I started, right from kindergarten age. My parents chose a curriculum called the Robinson curriculum while I was in school. The structure of my curriculum was basically 3 courses: math, English or writing, and reading. We started with a pretty standard math curriculum. You start with your addition and subtraction, and you move all the way up in algebra and calculus. I did go all the way up to calculus in my high school. It wasn't required for us to finish the curriculum, but I did do a little bit of calculus just because I was a little bit ahead. For me, I finished my algebra and my calculus, but I had a little bit of trouble. I didn't have my scores kind of where I wanted them to be. So I formulated a curriculum myself on Khan Academy, where you do, I think a lot of people know what Khan Academy is now. It's mostly used as a study aid, but for me, I did use it as my curriculum. We, myself and my parents, worked together to build up where I kind of needed additional help, like what parts were falling through the cracks for me, kind of built up what I would finish my grade 12 with. I honestly don't really remember what it was I did for English before I turned 10. Because once you turn 10 in our curriculum, you start doing 1-page essays on whatever subject, handwritten. A lot of it was to check your grammar, your spelling, can you argue a point, can you research a topic, this kind of stuff. And you could do it on whatever you like. So I have sisters who did it on Victorian clothing or costume design, and that sister went into textiles. And then I have a brother who did a lot of stuff on music and piano and classical music, and he is now a piano technician. We kind of all followed a niche that we were interested in. I did not finish my English the whole way through. I think probably grade 9 or 10, I stopped doing 1-page essays, which was a no-no. And then the reading portion of our curriculum covered everything from classical literature that most people would read in their high school, like different health and science topics, economy, world history. You got credits for each topic that the book was on. I got a lot of my social studies additional credits through the reading portion of my school. And the reading lists, we're not talking 20 books. I think it was 155 that you had to read from grade 1 to 12. And reading The Prince by Machiavelli. So by the time we kind of got to the end of the curriculum, 130 to 150, you were reading college level material. And you did have to write a book report on each of those. There were English and literature tests periodically throughout the curriculum as well. So that was the structure of our curriculum. So how did I feel about it? So I think the biggest thing when people that are not homeschooled talk to homeschoolers is they really worry and are concerned about the socialization aspect. So obviously, I didn't get the public school kind of socialization. I did take out of school classes ever since I was 5. So I was involved in dance, Girl Guides, Brownies, Pathfinders, cadets. I started working when I was 15. So all of this kind of stuff, you definitely get your socialization. And it's a little bit more on your own term because you're not limited to only socializing with people that are in the exact same place in life as you. So I did a lot of stuff with people that were younger and older. So you get different life experiences. You kind of learn how to teach the younger, and you learn how to be taught and how to take mentorship from people that are older than you. Socialization, you can make it what you want it to be. I have a lot of stuff I'm interested in, so I just did a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, and then besides that too, I did have kids in my neighborhood I grew up with after school, because of the way our school was structured. Once you finished your day, which was 2 hours of math, about a 30-question lesson, you write your 1-page essay, should take about an hour, and then you read for 2 hours. My school was done at about 2 o'clock, and I was out up the hill, playing with the neighborhood kids, building forts, exercising, physics, health and fitness, just in the real world. So yeah, there was a lot of hanging out with people in my age, a lot of jerks and a lot of nice people. So you still get your play of both. We got our butter melted. We'll add our eggs. The next part that most people ask about homeschooling is whether or not I have a diploma. This also changes for each family and each situation because there are different provincial and state regulations for how to be homeschooled, and there are different personal preferences. There were people that I know of that took the entire public school curriculum, just did it from home, and then took their midterms and their finals, and they have a provincial diploma. Now for my circumstance, I don't. Another thing about our family is that a lot of us have not done traditional university, come away with a diploma, like nobody has a bachelor's degree or anything like that. Because I think once you do homeschooling, you see that education can come in a lot of different ways, and you don't have to have a bachelor's degree to understand things, or for it to be acceptable in a workplace even. A lot of the time, if you can prove that you are still educated in a topic, employers are still gonna hire you, because that's basically what any degree is for, is to get a job. With that, I don't have a provincial diploma, so how do you kind of get into schools? A lot of universities and colleges offer an entrance exam, so I've taken that for a few places and passed, which just means that they test you on your very basic knowledge. Can you do math? Can you understand a sentence? Can you write and speak English? Most of those are only considered to be a grade 12 basic. So if you were applying to somewhere that required grade 12 basic, but you also need, a communications course, a math course, a physics course, these kind of things, you may have to take those additionally, or you can get your GED. So for my oldest sister, she did a few entrance exams, but she also compiled a portfolio. So this is just what it sounds like. You kind of write up what your curriculum is for every year, and this is especially important for high school. I lived in Newfoundland again, and I applied for a few colleges, for craft and trade colleges. I wanted to be a cook. I got accepted into a cooking program based on an entrance exam. I worked in a kitchen for a summer. I hated it so much, so I did not pursue that any further because that was terrible. That's another tip. If you like something and you think you might want to do it long term, try and work an entrance job. Just like washing dishes, prep cook, that kind of thing. Because it really gives you an idea of what it's actually like to work, and it was garbage. I worked a marketing and a communications position at a record label for my parents, management position. So when I was 18, I worked at a McDonald's in my hometown since I was 15, basically full time, 35 hours a week. I juggled that with my school because that's something you can do. You can kind of move your school around so you can work. Because of that, I was a manager at a McDonald's when I was 18. I only did it for a summer, and that was, oh my gosh. It was very, I would not trade that experience for the world, and to have that on my resume is freaking awesome, but that was so hard. That takes us to now. So right now, I work at a electronics company. It is a really cool job. I didn't need a degree to get in. They were accepting people out of high school, and you didn't even need a high school diploma to get in. It was high school equivalent, which I love that. So I came in there as a light assembler, so somebody who needs very little experience, and I have since worked up another position to somebody that's a little bit more specialized, which is freaking nuts, and I am freaking loving it. I think working in electronics and engineering specifically, it's so cool. And I don't think I would have realized this in high school. I thought I was going to pursue arts, if anything, because I liked working hands-on, but I didn't even think of okay, if you like hands-on work and you like putting stuff together and following routine and following instructions and stuff like this, engineering is actually a really good fit if you like to solve problems and that kind of jazz. So I actually had applied to the Nova Scotia Community College here, and they are very familiar with homeschool students, so they had a entrance exam ready to go when I applied, and they were like, yeah, just take this and it's fine. I took it and I was accepted into carpentry, which was really cool. I did not go for carpentry, obviously. I thought about it a little bit more. I was like, that just seems like a cop-out. That just seems like I want to do something and I don't know what it is. Love building stuff, but that wasn't really the timing or the right fit. So I didn't pursue that at the time. But because I took that entrance exam, or they have me on record as having a grade 12 equivalency, so I'm working now on getting the extra credits that I mentioned earlier so I can go into engineering. So I'm right now working on advanced math. Freaking love it. Advanced communications. It's a little bit more difficult for me. I'm doing okay, but I don't love it. Just know you can wait on your education, and you don't even have to get that piece of paper on your wall if you don't want to. I do want to, because I want to learn more about what I'm doing now in an accelerated fashion. I want to have something to pass on to my kids. This is the longest it's ever taken me to make brownies, because normally I can do these in like 2 minutes, but I've been so busy chatting. Holy smokes, yes. So the takeaways. I liked being homeschooled. I think it gives you a really unique outlook on what education is and what it's for and how it should serve you as an individual. I think you learn to ask different questions, and I also know how I like to learn. Whether you're more of a visual learner or audible or written, there's all these different ways that people retain information, and homeschooling kind of gives you the opportunity to try out what works best for you. Some people might learn better from field trips. Some people might learn better from just reading straight books, going to discovery centers as a kid or whatever, stuff like that. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention too is that for our curriculum, because there were so many of us and just the way that they set up the curriculum, it was pretty much autopilot after you reach like grade 6. So I did have very one-on-one schooling with my parents up until about grade 6. So she taught me my colors and your shapes and how to read. But then I also did get a lot of education help from my older siblings. And when it came to high school, you have your curriculum set out, you know what's expected of you, and you have the discipline to get it done. You're going to be just fine. So there's a certain amount of discipline required of the parents leading up to this point, but then also the responsibility for the student to take over and be able to hold themselves accountable and actually hit their targets. So I was a little bit late graduating, but it's because I worked basically full-time since I was 15. I moved away when I was 17 and I worked at a bakery while I finished my high school, but I got these incredible life experiences out of it. Anyways, this video might be all over the place. If you have questions, please leave them below. Again, my experience is only mine. Each of my siblings had a unique experience because of where they were in life and where our family was. So I can only speak to my own experience. Like, comment, subscribe if you want. We'd have more chats like this, and I'll make more baked goods, and it'll all be good. Oh god. Please don't judge me for this right now. Also, I finished the brownie.